Appreciate that. Senator Welch.
Mr. Washington, I think if I were you, I'd consider this hearing a success. You just got an invitation to Alaska.
Can't beat that.
I've never been there.
Well, if you're up for Senate confirmation, you'll get it.
Good.
Well, I can always aspire. Mr. Washington, one of the things among your many responsibilities will be the implementation of the Department of Transportation's ambitious U.S. Aviation Climate Action Plan, which has as a goal to achieve net zero carbon emissions in the aviation sector by 2050. And obviously, electric aviation has to be part of that conversation. Can you comment on your commitment to that and how you would implement it?
I am committed to that. I am committed to the administration's 2050 push for that. I think there are a number of ways that we can get started on that. I'm not saying FAA is not started on that, but I think we can beat 2050. I would make that one of my priorities. At Denver International Airport, we're doing just that. We're plugging abandoned oil wells. We have a huge solar array, larger than most airports. We are doing a number of sustainability projects like PFAS right now. Absolutely commit to that.
And do you see electric airplanes as part of that? We have a Beta Technologies in Vermont that is doing extremely wonderful work with EV aviation.
I do. I see eVTOLs as a huge part of that, and I think we need to get started now on making sure that the airports have the infrastructure that these vehicles can actually land. Nobody talks about the facilities that are needed at the airports now to make sure we can accommodate them.
Yeah, elaborate a bit on that, because that is a very good insight. If we don't have that infrastructure, then we might have the vehicles, but we won't be able to recharge them. What's involved in that?
Yes, well, I think there's a number of things involved with it. There's something called giga hubs these massive EV charging facilities that is being talked about right now. As a matter of fact, I think we're ahead of the curve on that at Denver International Airport to install an installation like that in conjunction with the consolidated rental car facility that we want to build as well.
Thanks. And small airports, Vermont is the biggest airport we have is a small airport, it's Burlington, and it's 100 times larger than any of the other airports, but those are essential. We also have an airport that we share in Lebanon, New Hampshire, that serves both local Vermont and local New Hampshire. Can you tell me how you're going to maintain or improve our confidence in the viability and sustainability of our small airports?
Well, I think, one, that those smaller airports and mid-sized airports are very, very critical to, again, connecting rural communities. And so, I think we can look at some of the same things that we're doing at larger airports, maybe at a smaller scale. But I think there are many ways that we can take advantage of new technology and maybe even pilot some of those at smaller airports.
Well, I'm glad you said that about rural airports, because, the models that the airlines are using really leave the rural America on the side, which I think is really bad. And what I'm hearing you say is that you appreciate the absolute essential importance of these small airports to rural Vermont, but to rural America.
Yes, sir.
And tell me what tools you would have to help us maintain service in our rural communities.
Well, I think, there are various things like pilot training that we can have at smaller airports. There's things like emergency medical operations that we can have at smaller airports to make them even more useful for both the FAA and the airlines. And so those are the kinds of things that I would look at to make it more viable. Now, I understand, and I mentioned earlier, the construction season and things like that we have to be concerned about when we put out AIP money and that sort of thing. But I think there's opportunities.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I yield back, Madam Chair.
Thank